Ladies and gentlemen, we have brand new balance changes, and they're pretty dang good in my opinion, but of course I want to hear what you guys think, so make sure to leave your feedback and advice on the balance changes in the comments. I can give that info to the devs too, who knows? But quick disclaimer, they haven't updated the dev build footage with the new balance changes, so they're still going to look like they were pre-nerf. Minions are going from a hit speed of 1 second to a hit speed of 1.1 seconds. They like what they did with the range, and they don't want to make them too similar to bats, which is why they changed it from fast to very fast in the first place, but they thought it was too close to bats, if you remember last work in progress balance changes. So now, since the range is something they don't want to touch, they want to nerf the damage a little bit, and this is pretty effective at doing that. There are currently 60 Spirit Empresses in the top 200 at the time of making this video, which is a little bit too many, so they're going ahead and nerfing the Spirit Empress. The hit point buff that it got has been reverted, so it will now have 10% less hit points. Unsure, I know, yes, if this makes it die to lightning, but it will make it die a lot easier to a lot more interactions, because there are so many interactions where Spirit Empress gets left at 1 HP and she's just sitting there doing 446 damage a hit, which is way too much. That won't be happening as much because she'll be way easier to kill. The Furnace Evo has gotten a nerf as well, and this is, a much needed nerf because the card is extremely broken. It is now going to spawn Fire Spirits when it's in its hot spawn form. Basically, while it's shooting, it spawns Fire Spirits slower. It used to spawn them every 1.8 seconds, which is how often he attacks, and now it's 2.4. So a decently slower Fire Spirit spawn rate. It's still going to be broken, and definitely, in my opinion, also needs like a range nerf. They are partially reverting the recent Cannoneer change where it's now attacking faster, and they're going to fix that by 5%. So the Cannoneer will now go from, I can't read this, 2.1 to 2.2 second hit speed. So it's going to attack a little bit slower. The Cannoneer is really broken right now, and it makes beatdown decks even better as well. So it's kind of a good little change to help shift the meta back into form. Dark Prince is getting a 7% damage buff and a 7% charge damage buff. So he is going to be dealing a lot more damage. I personally probably would have given him a charge like speed, because it feels like he just for like 5 seconds and then doesn't charge. But hey, he's gonna get extra damage, which will make him a little bit more usable as a as that role that the Valkyrie fills, the bowler fills, etc. Here we freaking go, baby. The Goblin Stein is getting a buff, but that being said, it's not really that much of a buff. It's good. The monster is getting 4% more health. So okay, cool. Little Prince, on the other hand, is getting a pretty significant little buff. It is going from an ability knockback of 2 tiles to 2.5, which is a 25% bigger knockback impact than it previously had. And the ability will also be doing 11% more damage. So the ability overall just getting a buff because it's pretty weak right now. And if anybody does use the Little Prince, it's practically only for what the Little Prince itself does. The ability pretty useless, so they're buffing it. You know that saying, Goblin Curse has damage amplification? About that, the Goblin Curse is losing all of its damage amplification, which is insane. It's losing all of it. It will no longer do any damage amplification, and instead it will be getting, since this is a rework, a damage per second and crown tower damage per second buff, which is really weird in my opinion. And I think this changes a ton of interactions with Curse Rage, Curse Zap. Now, I'm not saying that I don't agree with this, because I think Curse is like ridiculously broken and needs to be, dealt with. But this is a really interesting way, and I want to hear what you guys think about dealing with it, because their goal is to just make it so you don't just use it as a way to get extra damage and kill things faster and make boosted broken beatdown decks. It's just going to be used as a swarm counter, which of course still is going to be good. It's just sometimes I feel like a couple interactions will change, stuff like that. But it's getting crown tower damage per second from 6 to 10, so 67% more damage. Oh my god. Yes, percent more damage to the tower, and it's going to do 11% more damage just as a whole. So, or 17%, I'm very sorry, more damage as a whole from 30 to 35. So, it's doing more damage. I'm not sure what doing more damage will actually do, but maybe it will help ease some of the interactions that are going on, because, Curse Zap, Curse Rage, it's the most popular combo. It probably fixes some of those interactions so that not too much changes. It's just not as much of a viable option in broken beatdown decks. And arguably the biggest balance change of them all, ladies and gentlemen, is the log. The log is getting a... I genuinely, like, I don't understand why they keep changing the log. I don't know why it's, you know, such a big priority. They keep making the log just something that really, it's like every balance change or every other season, they nerf the log. And this, however, is one of the biggest changes they've made to log so far. And I personally, like, this is just my take on it. If something is really good, you should avoid over buffing other things, but really look at why it's so good. Is it so good because other things are weak, or is it so good just because it needs to be touched? And clearly the log needs to be touched, and they've decided to touch it. The log's current damage is at 266, and they are buffing it to 268. Ladies and gentlemen, the log getting a buff. I'm pretty sure this is just to fix a couple of bugs with like poison log interactions, but yeah. So there are the balance changes for the upcoming season. Of course, I want to hear your feedback so I can give it to the devs, so, you know, I can just hear what your guys' opinions are. I think it's a pretty good set of balance changes, and it's pretty broken as a meta right now, and they're nerfing all the stuff that needs to be nerfed. So is there anything missing? Anything I should tell the devs? Anything that you think was maybe over nerfed, or Goblin Curse, you know, something like that? So hey, don't forget to like the video.